You should someday, if Chief Kerr opens up the firehouse for community viewing, go see that firehouse at 87 and 88. Those stations are unbelievable. I've been around the country, in a lot of jobs and seen a lot of firehouses. I haven't seen anything like this anywhere. So we definitely have the Rolls Royce firehouses, and the men deserve it. When you go into a running building, instead of running away from the building, you deserve to have the best place to hang your hat and sleep during the night. So thank you, Chief Kerr. Please come on up and give us an update. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. John Kerr, Fire Chief. I usually don't use a microphone. I kind of have that ability, so if you all don't mind, I'd really like to. Oh, for recording purposes. Got me. I'm going to have to stand here with my hands in my pocket. All right. So again, my name is John Kerr. I'm Fire Chief here for Riviera Beach Fire Rescue. I've been in with the department now. Today's my anniversary. I'm on my 25th year here with the city, and this has been a long time coming. Oh, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. This has been a long time coming. These are projects that have been on the board, I would say, close to a decade. Chief Reginald Duran, when he was here, my predecessor was looking at rebuilding fire stations. And again, all of this was pre-COVID. Fire stations came in at a tune of $6, $7, maybe $8 million tops. Post-COVID, we've seen numbers absolutely skyrocket and escalate in our lives in general, not just these stations. But we're going to focus today on Fire Station 86. We're going to talk about what our relocation plan is going to look like, what our service delivery model is going to look like, and talk a little bit about the station and what it's going to do for the community. So again, my name is John Kerr. We're here to really focus on 86. We're going to talk about why we need to relocate the station. We're going to have to talk about the project timeline. Can I walk with this, Walter? Okay, I'm just getting a bad glare and my eyes aren't good. We're going to talk about the project timeline and overview. Peak call hours for deployment. One of the things that was huge is we wanted to pull as much data as we could so that when we made our decisions on how we were going to implement this deployment model, we had all of that data. We actually use a dispatching system called Active 911 that allows me to quantify our calls by day of the week, time of day, call types, and a lot of time was put into developing this data. We're going to talk about what the service is going to look like outside of those peak hours, the benefits to the community as it relates to the plan, and some of the things we've done was going to happen. And then we want to address, obviously, concerns that you all have. And in all of this, want to make sure that you all are completely involved, letting you know when we hit certain benchmarks and milestones, when certain things happen, and that communication will be regular and transparent and accurate. So thank you for joining us. Again, we want to talk about this update. We also want to anticipate these questions that are going to come about, but we really Station 86. Now I only have about 8 slides because I don't believe in death. And it hits some of the highlights of what it is we're you probably already have your questions in your pocket ready to fire. So I'm going to move through this and hopefully answer some of those for you. So Station 86, for any of you all who have been there, no longer meets the standards of any type of building in the United States of America. If you haven't seen and you would like a tour of that fire station will be available for you to walk through until August 11th. And I dare you, if you really want to see, you've done it, right? So you know what we're talking about. So I'm not going to belabor the point that this facility is reached its end of life. The mold and mildew issues that we've constantly been remediating. And one of the biggest issues that we had with this facility, and I see my AC guy back there, is this building was never built for air conditioning. In 1972, there was no air conditioning, so we had to retrofit the station with ductwork on the outside in the apparatus bay exposed to the sun on the exterior of the building. And then the jalousie windows that were in there were eventually changed into crank windows, and we just had issues with air intrusion, which created that mixture of that hot air, cold air. The piping underneath is old cast iron piping. We've actually have had to cut through our apparatus bay floor no less than a half a dozen times to keep the sewage from backing up into our living space. So I think it goes without saying, we understand why we're here and why we need a new station. So let's talk a little bit about this project timeline. So right now, and these are estimated dates and times, there's a lot of things that have to really line up for all of this to happen. But we feel very confident that we can begin demolition the week of August 11th. That's actually more of a us. That's the day our crews will be moving. So some of the pre-demolition activities can begin, but we won't see active demolition until later in the month. And we're hoping for you all to come out there. We're going to have a nice groundbreaking ceremony with that. This is open free forum. If you have questions as we go, I don't want you to forget them and wait till the end. So just feel free to raise your hand and we'll pause. So we're going to launch this temporary deployment model beginning the week of August 11th. We're working very closely with our partners at Palm Beach County, who is our PSAP, our primary dispatch provider. And they're working on making sure that we have all the units located, relocated, call types, peak hours, times a day. A lot of work going into making sure that when the call comes in, the right unit is dispatched to minimize any delay in response. Remodel of the substation to be completed by November 1st of 2025. If you walk out of this door here to the Clean and Safe building, there's a little small office building right here on the corner of this property. It was an old law office, I believe, or real estate office. That is actually in the process right now of being remodeled to actually be a substation for us on the island here. So that's going to allow us to house crews on the island all day, not just peak hours. So there's a couple of, and we'll talk about this as we go along. There's a temporary deployment model until this facility goes online. And then once that facility goes online, we're going to change our deployment model to keep crews on the island for longer periods of time, not just peak hours. So in this project, it's a two-phase project. There is a pump house and 1 million gallon water tank that's on the property. And I think you all know the property at 5010 North Ocean. And there's also the fire station. Well, this is kind of a very complex game. And I have to give all the credit to our city engineer, Mr. Bailey, who's worked with the architect team to figure out ways to do this on how can we demolish the fire station, rebuild the water tank, keep that old water tank up and running until the new one is built, transfer those services to the new tank, then tear down the old tank, then build the fire station where the old tank currently resides. So basically, we're flip-flopping the fire station and the water tank on that property. That property comes with quite a few challenges. Hurricane Ian, I don't think I have to say anymore. We're at least 7 foot below where the finished grade will be of the new fire station. The new fire station is also being built with very specific features that FEMA recommended for fire stations on barrier islands after their review of what happened over on the West Coast with Hurricane Ian. So essentially, that whole first floor of the new fire station will be designed to wash out. There are special louvers that are built into the building. So as the storm surge comes in, there will be a seawall there. And it will actually buffer some of the surge that comes in, try to work the surge around the fire station to make its way into the intercoastal. But a lot of the HVAC systems, your air conditioning, your plumbing, your electrical is all up on the upper floors to include the standby generator. So once the storm passes and the waters recede, we hose out the first floor. We're back in business, providing service on the island uninterrupted, unlike what happened on the West Coast, unfortunately. So the anticipated completion of the new water tank and pump house is going to be done in early 2027. it is essential, and we had some conversations in the crowd earlier. Please understand, it is essential for that water tank to remain. That is surplus water for the north end of the island. So whenever the demand is great enough where the municipal system can't keep up, that is extra water that provides pressure and volume to the north end of the island. That's a 1 million gallon tank. And Mr. Bailey, correct me if I'm wrong, but that 1 million gallons is 5 million?
No, they draw down 500,000.
Correct. I was just getting there. They draw down 500,000 gallons of water a night. Irrigation to a lot of the condos that are there. In the evenings, everybody's coming home, everybody's cooking, everybody's showering. Those are your peak consumption hours. So in addition to this, there are also some other plans that I really don't want to get into to improve that situation on the north end of the island. But this tentative date of early 2027 will get the new pump house online. We can then decommission the
What you don't want to get into, and that's the new water lines.
Okay, I don't have the technical expertise, so I will turn it over. I just use the water, I don't make it.
Yeah. So I'll have our capital projects manager, Mr. Bailey, come and give greater specificities. But I will tell you that we had conversations that without that water tank, we cannot provide the amount of volume and capacity that you need to irrigate your lawns on the island. So if that water tank was not there, we would find ourselves in a very expensive capital project because we would have to upsize all the lines to be able to get the amount of volume that's necessary. So we did look at the option of trying to find another alternative not to use that water tank, but we have to use it to be able to maintain pressure on the island for irrigation, but also fire suppression services. As a result of some of the concerns that a lot of you probably said for many years about water pressure and some issues that we have, especially on the north part of the island, we are actually running a project right now that Mr. Bailey can speak of, that we are looking to upsize some of the lines that we will be able to. So once this project comes online, you'll actually not have an issue where you will have to deal with water pressure issues not being consistent. And so, Mr. Bailey, if you would, share a little bit of comments and remarks concerning that. And I do want to acknowledge our police chief is here with us today. Chief,
Oh, sure. A question. Good.
Just so that everyone knows, the fence line, the north fence line at the Waterglades condominium, that's the border between North Palm Beach and the city of Riviera Beach. So all you gotta do is go to the north end of the Waterglades condominium, you'll see our fence line heading east. That's the border line.
I reference it from where the fire station is north. That's what my reference point is, because that's what that water feeds everything going north from there.
So in this context, that would be the north end. As a general, broad brush, everything north of Pine Point would be, we generally refer to as the north end, because there's really not houses on the intercoastal side north of Pine Point. So you have basically the bridge to the curve to Pine Point, and then the north end. That's sort of how we generally reference what's kind of going on. But for this conversation in the waterline, the north end will be north of the pump. So I think to your question, and it's complicated, but I'm gonna try to make it simple. So imagine if you guys would zoom out like you're in Google Earth and look at the whole city, right? The new water treatment plant is going to go on Avenue L. And from the new water treatment plant, that's where the water is getting generated and created. It's got to go all the way east, across the intercoastal, make the curve, and then again, go all the way to the north end. It's a good 2.5 to 3 miles, maybe. So you can imagine how long it takes the water to get there and things of that nature. Again, the manager's been out a little while, haven't had a chance to update him, and so I'm going to update you on the fly since you put me on the spot. And I really wish our utility director was here, because I'd be like, right. No, he knows, he reads his email. So No, we've been working. I work very, very closely with our water utility department. Again, because they have sort of a niche in trying to get water and sewer, but I have responsibility for the whole city, all of the infrastructure, just making sure it's coordinated. So, the utility district about in May took a resolution for a master plan for the water system that Chin is about to start. And that looks at all of the pipes, the system for water. One of the very first things we're going to do is look at the north end. How does the new water treatment plant increase flow and pressure? There's going to be a new line from the water treatment plant heading out into the system. As well, Chin Moore, our vendor, is working on the intercoastal crossing project, which will basically go from Broadway to Park, and they're about to get a new line for better reliability under the intercoastal. So you have three primary things: pressure, volume, and reliability, right? The pressure, we're working on the north end. Volume, the new water treatment plant will have much more efficiency, so we'll get better volumes in the network. And then we start working on reliability. To the very specific question, so imagine, we got a new water treatment plant at Avenue L. We're going to have new pipe networks going to the intercoastal. We have new pipes going under the intercoastal. And then that really leaves North Ocean as you come over the bridge, make the turn, and head toward the north end. We are currently working on an evaluation of how big does the new pipe need to be from the pump house north. I can tell you we ran some preliminary numbers, and there's really one of two answers. It's an 18-inch or 20-inch. Chin Moore is also, as part of the master plan, looking at, is it an 18-inch the whole way? Is it 20-inch the whole way? Or does it step down at some point because of a whole bunch of engineering calculations and things like that? Oh, I saw a hand. It would almost be easier to send you to Holiday Inn Express than try to explain the 5 years of engineering that it took me to be able to give you a good answer. Yes, you're never going to be able to get rid of the tank, because again, imagine trying to move 500,000 gallons of water in 2 hours from Avenue L to Waterglades at the north end. The size of the pipe would be the whole road, right? So just understand the scale. So what you do is you move the water closer to the people so that the pipe is smaller, you have less pressure, less losses. And I'm really trying to make it, does that help? Because it feels like that's an engineering answer that's not going to help you.
But where does the water in that tank come from? Does
So-
it come from Avenue L?
Yes, but again, I've got 20 hours to refill it that took you 2 hours to draw it down.
So they're running
So
simultaneously.
yeah, so I can slowly refill it over the course of the next 20 hours, and then you draw it down. That's why I said every night you pull it down 500,000 gallons a night, and then we spend all of the next day trying to catch back up, because again, the pipe is small on this side. I'm sure my 13-year-old could do an experiment in like 3 minutes with some straws and a cup, and it'd be much better than this bad explanation I'm giving you.
And around 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, they start filling that tank because the drawdown's going to happen. When everybody's either getting up to go to work or getting up in the morning, or the irrigation system. So it does take hours to fill that volume of water.
So, Mr. Bailey, so you can tell us and the chief, this is very, very important if we were to have a fire at the north end of Singer Island.
Yeah, absolutely, without question.
So
Go ahead.
all right, let me start with the technical part. So we've said this. One of the constraints is that existing pipe, right? And as you know, if anybody's ever blown on a straw, you can get more air or water through a straw with more pressure. You're going to blow out the pipe. And I'm sure he was going to say it, so I'll say it. We would turn the pumps to wide open to blow out the pipe to get the water where it needs to go, and then we'll go fix the pipe later, right? We don't want to do that. We want to have a system that works in its normal operating condition. But if you had to, you just keep turning the dial to get the water there so his people can put out the fire, and we'll worry about the pipe after the fact. The project would make that absolutely unnecessary. The design, in its normal design condition, we can deliver flow, volume, and pressure so that when they turn on that hydrant and they go to fight the fire and do all the great things that you love, is not the pipe or the pump's issue. It'll be all operational on their side. And the chief's going to tell you how they make that happen.
So yes, and it's basic firefighting. You talk about the size of some of these facilities. If we have multiple sprinkler heads going off, we have multiple trucks drawing water, we got multiple crews on fire floors. I mean, they're flowing large quantities of water. And some of the problems that we run into is the rest of the condos down the line don't realize what's happening. So they're still going on with their day, taking showers, cooking, doing all of those things, drawing down on the water as well. So it is a significant concern for me right now. Hence, here we are today, because right now it's a delicate dance between us and the utility district. If we have a large scale incident and we start drawing down and the pressure starts to, we can't cavitate our pumps. Once we cavitate our pumps in the fire trucks, that's a bad thing. But basically, as we start drawing, we call them. They slowly increase the pressure as we need the volume. But before we shut down, we got to call them to lower the pressure, because now we're shutting down our lines. We want to avoid what's known as water hammer, basically shutting all of this water down. There's a shock wave that runs back through the system. You could lose the whole system. And then now we're trying to figure out how to get 10,000 residents water to simply brush their teeth. So it is a very delicate dance right now, but these improvements will take that away. And with the technology in the system, I don't have to make that call. The sensors within the system will realize the pressure drops and automatically increase the pressures and volumes to exactly what we need. All right.
Good.
All right.
So again, and you kind of got ahead of us. Mr. Evans hadn't been briefed on that, so please don't. If it's not perfect, or if he decides to change something small, it's his prerogative.
So I know that many of us that live on Singer Island saw the surveyors out on the streets the last couple of weeks, and I
Yes.
believe that's what they're working on is those water lines. Right.
So moving on, we look to then have, once the pump house and everything is taken care of, we're then going to be able to actually start construction of the fire station, and we expect the project to be complete by mid-2028. Again, a lot of work. I don't think a lot of residents of Singer Island realize that Singer Island wasn't always as big as it was. There was a lot of sand brought in to expand the width and length of Singer Island for residential properties. And one of the issues that we're also going to be dealing with is the pilings that we have to run down to support this fire station that's sitting on basically loose beach sand. And those pilings are running down 42 or 48 foot down before we hit something solid, just to support this water tank. So those are some of the challenges that come with this property, not to mention raising that entire property up almost 7 foot. And all of these benchmarks, I know Mr. Evans and his communication teams with some of the other stations have created an area on our city's website where you can actually go in and see some of these benchmarks and milestones as we go through them. So let's talk about what this deployment's going to look like. What are peak call hours? Well, our peak call hours, based on information that we've been able to derive from the calls that we run on the island, are from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. That seems to be when we get the most of our calls. When I look at it, at night, call 911. In the 3 to 6, people are coming home, had a long day at work, tired. That's when we just tend to get our calls. There are other calls that occur throughout that time, and especially in the middle, but they're normally not based in residential. It's normally the Ocean Mall, it's issues out on the water, it's car accidents, it's a lot of more of the business style calls we see rather than residential calls. So this data was pulled off of our active 911 system. This is a 1-year look at time of day, day of week, and we really kind of identified these hot pockets right here. And there's no rhyme or reason to it, Tuesday versus Friday or Monday, but those were the trends that we saw. So the deployment plan prior to the substation opening is crews will be staged on or near Singer Island In the vicinity here, from 8 in the morning till 11 a.m., we will have an ALS ambulance on the island from 8 to 11. That crew would then go back to the station, have their lunch, use the restroom, those things that they need to do. And then they would come out and basically rove the island from 3 to 6 of those calls during those peak hours. I'm sorry, Station 87 right here at City Hall. Right, but what we don't do is have them cross the tracks. We want to keep those resources east of the tracks. That's our biggest concern. We also have our mutual aid agreements with West Palm, Palm Beach. To them, we've talked to our partners over at Palm Beach Shores. Challenges are going to be, and they're more than willing to jump.
It sounds like the majority of these calls during these peak hours are related to medical issues as opposed to real fires.
Yes.
How many fire calls do you get, and when I mean, those can be at any time.
So are we talking the island or are we talking the city at large? The island. We get a lot of fire alarms. That's the biggest call type related to fire. There's 3 or 4 false alarms in one of the condos somewhere at some time. What we have, though, is you have an infrastructure on Singer Island with buildings being sprinkled, monitoring systems, smoke detector systems that normally don't let fires get well out of control. But I would have to say, gosh, we might look at, and if my crew thinks any different, maybe 5 high-rise fires, and normally it could be something in the dumpster that was the trash compactor. Lithium-ion batteries is a whole nother issue we're dealing with now, or simple pot on the stove cooking fire contained to that one residential unit. So then we have all of the other things, right? We have all of the little brush fires or miscellaneous fires or car fires that are associated with it. But we're fortunate to not see, because of the type of construction we have, those big conflagrations you would see up in the Northeast.
Because a year and a half ago, I looked out my back patio and the house next door to me was on fire.
Yeah.
And there were flames going, and I was happy that you all arrived very quickly.
Yeah.
So I hope that will still be in place.
It is, absolutely. And, you know, some of the other issues we run into, a lot of boat fires as well. There are a lot of docks in people's backyards. We just had one not too long ago, lightning strike on the mast of a sailboat. You know, so that it runs the gambit. But once we get this facility done right here, and our goal is November 1st, because we want that substation online and active before our peak season. Our peak season usually begins right there in November, leading up to Thanksgiving through the holidays and early winter and early spring. So our intent and planning all of this out and the timing for all of this was to get that substation done before our occupancy increases here on the island. And we're very comfortable that we can do that. And once that happens, the crews will remain at the substation from 9 a.m. in the morning until 6 in the evening. They will not go back across the bridge. They will stay here on the island. That is 7 days a week. And then in the evening, because this facility is limited, it is truly just a substation, maybe half the size of this room, where they can do their reports, training, and the like. But then they would go back to Station 87. They would have their dinner there. That's where they would bed down for the night. And one of the things that we've done is, and we'll talk about it in one of the next slides, is the city has made a significant investment knowing of this, having to traverse the bridge and the city to get out here. But when we looked at seasonal adjustments, the call volume and peak hours, the volume increased, but the peak hours always remain the same. Those are just seen to be the times when most people will call 911. So one of the things we did, and I don't read PowerPoint verbatim, I've lived this. So the city invested $250,000 into the Glance preemption signaling system. What that does is that at each one of our intersections in the city, there is a module that reads a GPS tracker to our truck and satellites, triangulates our position and speed, and turns the lights green for us before we even get there. So when we're talking about the response outside of peak hours, 7, 8, 9, 10 at night, we get the green light from City Hall to the island. That's really, and it's a phenomenal system. Just this last month, and I don't want to yet put it out for consumption because I want some more reliable data. Our average call time since we've implemented this system has dropped to under 5 minutes. That doesn't include call handling time. I can't control that. That's the dispatcher in Palm Beach County. But from the moment the tones go off in our station, 4 minutes and 52 seconds till we're at your front door. And that's as a result of this new preemption signaling system that's really benefiting the community as a whole. It's been probably the best investment I've seen made by the city for public safety in a long time. What we will be doing at Station 87 when crews are responding from there outside of peak hours is we're going to have all of these units stationed out there. We have an EMS captain, engine 87. There was an engine 287, so that's going to be the second of the two. Rescue 287, Rescue 87. We got quite a number of units that are going to be housed at that station because you also have to understand Riviera Beach's 3 stations work in tandem. If there's a big fire on the mainland, everybody's going there. If there's a big fire on the island, everybody's coming here. So our system ebbs and flows. But what we wanted to ensure is that we had a robust number of units east of the tracks. That's where I lose sleep at night. We just had a malfunctioning of the intersection at of the Blue Heron and Obama. There was a malfunctioning of the gate. I actually had to stop, wait for PD to get there. If that gate closes, and you all have been subject to it before, some of those freight trains come through, it could be 30 minutes before we get across. And I'm talking Silver Beach, from Silver Beach all the way down to 13th. We are cut off in this city. So our resources are split to make sure that we don't have that issue. So the crews will remain east of the tracks, ensuring that we have units that are available. This is a kind of a quick look at that glance system. Our speed we're approaching at. This glance system then communicates to the traffic signal, moves the traffic out of our way to let us respond unimpeded. Some of the benefits of the deployment model and the preemption lighting system is going to be improved emergency response times over not having the system. 24/7 service, continuity and redundancy built into deployment, facilities for the firefighters once this station comes online. There's going to be a lot of things that really address some of the issues that we deal with in the fire service, some of the mental health issues that we deal with, some of the cancer issues that we deal with, some of the issues we deal with our firefighters having heart attacks. We are twice as likely to develop cancer at some point in our life, and public safety, police and fire are more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. So we have quite a few different things within these stations to help with the mental health aspect, the physical health aspect, and the cancer reduction, keeping our firefighters ready so that they're at their peak performance to be able to serve you all. Actually, to Mr. Spiritus's point, we have some of the best fire stations in the nation. We have now set the standard and the model, and I'm proud to say that Riviera Beach is leading the way. I'm actually going to be doing speaking at a conference in October on incorporating firefighter health and wellness in station design. I'm working on a white paper right now that is going to be used by the fire industry to basically look at how a modern fire station should be built. Everything around us has gotten better. Our bunker gear has gotten better. Our air packs have gotten better. Our trucks have gotten better. Our hoses and nozzles, everything we do, our extrication, the jaws of life, everything's better. But our stations were still being built like we were in the 70s. So we've made some tremendous strides in changing that. And I'm going to open it up to questions while you look at the latest rendering of what the fire station will look like. Again, this is that flip-flop scenario. We have to tear down the old station, build this, then we can tear down the water tank and build the station. Remember, this whole first floor of this building is designed to wash out. Then all of our redundancies, and we've done a very good job of masking a lot of those HVAC components on the roof from the residents that live behind us. Last thing you want to do is look down at the roof of a building and see a bunch of air conditioning units. So we were able to be very creative with our architect to hide and mask some of that, so we don't ruin individuals' very expensive views. So with that, I open it up for questions that you all might have. Yes.
Before you ask your questions, we're going to need you to speak into the mic. So I'll be Phil Donahue today. First, I'm sorry.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Right. Where is she? Oh, hey, how you doing, man?
Hello, Susan Hoffman, Villa Towers. Could you speak to what specific equipment you use to deal with high-rise fires, since I know it must have changed a lot since '72? And also, what is your plan for evacuating handicapped people from a tall high-rise?
Okay, two-part question. The equipment has gotten absolutely phenomenal. When I started, we would put a bunch of hose and air bottles on a dolly, and we would carry the dolly up the stairs with us. The hose has become a lot more lightweight, where we can actually flow greater volumes of water through smaller diameter hoses. The nozzles that we use are low pressure nozzles, because one of the issues we battled with high-rise fires is we lose pressure as we go up. So we've actually did some work early on with Elkhart, one of the nozzle manufacturers, and all of our nozzles now, instead of needing 100 or 120 PSI to be effective, we've cut that down to 50 PSI, but still maintaining the same volume. And I want to just acknowledge Councilwoman Davis Panier in the back. Thank you for being here. Our bunker gear, our air bottles, we used to have 30-minute air bottles. We now have 45-minute air bottles. But one of the things we talk to about our firefighters is an apartment fire is no different than a house fire. It's just way up there. So physical fitness and conditioning has become a very, very big part of what we do. And you all may even see in some of your high rises, our firefighters going up and down the stairs. The Tierra has been a great partner for us, because one of the things that our firefighters understand is we go up 30 stories and then we go to work. So it's quite taxing. So there's been a lot of leaps and bounds in technology. And part two to that was,
How do you get disabled people out of a burning building?
so we work normally with the HOA, and we hope and we always implore that they keep a roster. Who's in town, who's out of town, who's disabled, who needs assistance. Is the communication system opening? Because one of the things, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but because of the type of construction and fire suppression systems at buildings, we're actually going to ask most people to shelter in place. Stay where you are, we'll come get you. Now, that's when we go to the front desk. Can we have the list? That is very important. So if you live in a high rise, especially now during hurricane season, I would suggest that your HOA look at creating that list. And basically, I know nobody likes to be checked when they're home, when they're not home, but if you're leaving and going back up north, let them know that that unit's going to be unoccupied, because we're going to spend 10 minutes searching that unit when we could be searching a unit where we know somebody's there versus not knowing. And that's very taxing on our firefighters. So that's how we try to handle it the best we can. We also have some new pieces of equipment that we just got. It's a motorized or mechanized stair chair, where we can actually bring individuals down. It has like army tank tracks, so we can bring them down the stairs in a little faster than we could before. Question over here.
What's that top tier going to be utilized for? Hi, what's the top tier of the fire station gonna be utilized for? I know when I was at the meeting, we was discussing it, but
Yeah.
can we get a clear understanding what the top tier are gonna be for, what it's gonna be beneficial for?
Right. Beneficial, not extreme benefits. It's going to be unoccupied. That is simply a decorative feature up above that will provide access to some of the utilities and HVAC systems that are on the roof. But that spot right here is actually a facade just to provide for the aesthetics of and access to some of the HVAC systems, but it itself has no true benefit. Yes, ma'am.
So kind of a couple different questions on this. Watched many years ago when you guys did the preview where you wanted to put it where the tennis courts were. And the idea was so that your guys could have the benefit of being able to access the beach and all that. Time goes by, we've redesigned for this site. Many times I've asked Glenn, I've asked other people, and I keep getting not a very good answer. Why didn't we use the property across the street? It would not require Luke moving the water tank. It would be much better. The primary call log would bring you right to this corner. So can somebody tell me why we would not consider that? And what is going to be the cost of this fire station?
So you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I'll speak to it.
Okay.
So we did have conversations. We did look at multiple sites on the island for the purposes of relocating the station. I believe that site across the street, they wanted to sell us the property for $10 million to be able to facilitate that. And we said that it would be cost prohibitive for us to acquire that property and then invest, $25-30 million into effectively constructing that, as well as it also puts it in close proximity to Fire Station 87. And so when we even looked at the data and the information and the calculations, when we said, okay, we moved off of this site and we said we're going to stay at that site, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, based on the information, if we could not locate where we were talking about here at the tennis courts, it would be just more beneficial just based on the call numbers and the volume for us to just utilize that particular property that we had. We tried to work some type of deal with other property owners, but if you've ever tried to acquire 2 acres of land on Singer Island, it's virtually impossible for any type of municipal purposes. The only other option would have been, to look at an eminent domain, and that is not necessarily a good word that most governments want to. But we did try to negotiate something that was reasonable as it relates to that particular property.
So then to answer my question, what is this project going to cost us total?
This project with the water tank, 33 million.
No, you just answered my question. We could have feasibly done this much cheaper than what you're doing there. Chief wanted to put the fire station right here, but you chose to go back. And I live in Palm Beach Isles. I listen to your fire trucks go this way all the time. They don't go that way. So you yourself made in the presentation that it would save time if you had your fire station by the 7-Eleven. So what changed? I feel that somebody's
but
trying
can I
to
do
keep
the money
this
first?
property for
No,
another
you
You
development.
want to do that first?
Yeah, absolutely. So we look at our dispatch system as a whole. So we look at what it would take to get units over the bridge to support the mainland and vice versa coming back. One of the things we looked at, and this is a very slippery slope. High rises have an inherent delay built into them when it comes to our response. When we get there, there's a guard gate out front. We got to get through the guard gate. We got to get to the lobby. We got to hope that the attendant knows a 911 call has come in and has the elevator waiting for us. Most of the times they don't even know a 911 call came in. So now we're using our key to try to bring down the elevators. Then we load our equipment in on and on and on to that is time lost. So while site right here, and this site was settled on, not necessarily because it was the best, it was a very good option. What made it appealing is that property was free. There wasn't no cost associated with that property. We already owned it.
What did you sell it for? I'm certainly would be more than 10 million.
So he'll,
Oh, the tenants, oh, I'm
So-
sorry, I'm
so-
talking about this property.
You're talking about this property?
Yeah.
It is undevelopable. There's a wetland on 3 sides, which is significantly drove up our cost. It is undevelopable. And imagine now the consternation we went through over an 80-foot water tower. Put a 300-foot condo there and see how well that would go over if we tried to put that on the market. That's where your line is kind of taking us. Right, and if you'd like, I'm gonna do some fast math for you. That parcel costs us $10 million for the dirt. The fire station is $16 million. I'm already up to 25. The water tank, don't forget, you still have to do the tank and the pump house at a point in the near future. So there's another 18 million. So today we're at 15 million for the fire station, 18 million for the new tank and pump house for 33. You take the same 33 and add an extra $10 million to buy the dirt, which is the differential between the dirt we own and the dirt we have to now acquire. Talk about that piece of property at 2 acres at its highest and best use will generate at least $500,000 and up to $1 million of TIF every year for the next 50 years for which we run this timeline. So at least $35 million on the 10, the 15, the 8, and 35 versus the $33 million we're about to be out net out the door. The math doesn't math.
I agree, Terrence, except that what my issue is, these poor guys have gone with this crappy fire station for years. They could have been in this one soon, much sooner than 3 years from now. And yes, you're right. I know that's why they don't want that property, because of the taxes. We can't even get the entrance of the island to be developed. So when is that going to get developed? I'm just looking at the both sides. We're way too
Right.
far into this. You've got your plan. Let's please move forward. But it just didn't make good sense to me. And honestly, it still doesn't make good sense to me.
Yeah, I just have to say, I agree with you, and the city manager and the chief will tell you, I've been pushing very, very hard for us to use eminent domain to take the bank building. That made more sense to me. It was a larger parcel. We could have worked with the water tower where it was and rebuilt a new water tower on that site. But I believe that the firehouse really belonged over here. But as you said, we're too far into this at this point. I got on too late, way into the game. So we just tried to make the best situation possible for the island. And I can tell you that there are tremendous number of aided calls going at the north end of the island on a regular basis. We see the ambulances going to all the condos all day long. So there is a need. It does bring the trucks a little bit closer to the high-rise condos where the need is. But yes, I do agree with you. If it was 3 years ago and I was here, or 4 years ago, I would still be fighting with the city manager and the chief to use eminent domain, because I believe in the long run, when you pay off a $10 million bond over a 30-year period, you're talking about peanuts in respect to what you're going to get in return for that $10 million. Some things you can't put a price tag on. Their quality of life issues, their fire safety, their police issues. You can't put price tags on that. When it comes to emergencies, we just got to do whatever we have to do to make it happen. And if that means spending more money, you spend more money. But that's my position. But we are way into this now. If we were to stop this now and start all over again, we'd be another 5 years down the road. As you know, 5 years ago, we were shown these renderings, different renderings, by the way. This is all brand new. But about 5 years ago, we were shown these renderings at different COSI meetings, community meetings. We all thought our firehouse was going to be built like 4 or 5 years ago. Didn't happen. That money had to go into Station 87. So we passed the bond thinking that the money was coming here on Singer Island, but it didn't come to Singer Island. It went to Station 87. Now, they probably needed the money. I don't know that much about what the transfer was at the time, but clearly the city felt they needed the money for 87 to build what they built there. So we started all over again. We had a bond again to do this. So I think that while we have the bond and while we have the plans at this point, it just makes sense to move forward with what we have. Is it the best situation? I don't believe so.
No, I'm just saying
but
my opinion,
yeah.
'cause I think Chief and his team wonderful.
Right.
You guys deserve the very
That-
best.
They sure do.
That is a functional location. It serves its purpose.
Do you have
That-
access to the beach from there?
We do not, but we also run ocean rescue. So we have our ocean rescue staff that's tied in with our dispatch that lets us get to the north end. And that's a whole nother conversation I think needs to happen about lifeguards, ocean rescue, moving north down that island. Especially, we've noticed when we start to get to the north end of the island at high tide, we can't even get around the sand anymore because of the wash up that's occurred. There was actually at one time, believe it or not, a rendering of a fire station where we're standing. This was going to be a huge multi-story building, and it was going to be like an old FDNY station where the fire station was underneath. This bend, this area was my area of focus, but there's a lot of things that are out of my control. We get into finances, we get into the politics of it. So it was the best decision that I could make with what was available to me.
And I do, and to speak on that, right? So we did, talk with property owners in the surrounding area. This process has been ongoing for at least 5 to 6 years. And I can tell you, when we started having conversations with developers to say, would you assist us in building a fire station and incorporating it into your development? They said, absolutely, Jonathan, no problem. However, you need to give us 25 stories of entitlements. We're like, absolutely not. It's a non-starter for us. And that's why primarily the costs associated with this and folks in the development space that said, yeah, we'll help and work with you. You just got to give us a situation where we get 25 stories right here on the island. Additionally, and I do think one of the developers said, hey, I'll build it for you. I just want the property that you're at right now to be able to build some condos. So again, there was a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions. And when we felt the opposition from the community, when we had the discussion about the property at 7-Eleven, we just said, hey, let's look to try to make this particular site work for the purposes of what we're trying to effectively accomplish. But there was years and years of work and conversation, but everyone in the development space that we were talking about was looking for some type of quid pro quo, that if I did this or I provided the opportunity for the city to construct here, I want 22 to 25 stories on my properties that I have. And we're like, that's a deal breaker.
Well, Jonathan, thank you for bringing up the 25 stories. I can't go into it in great detail because there's another councilwoman here, and under the Sunshine Act, under the state law, I can't discuss anything that may come up to be voted on when another councilwoman is here. What my position is, no, you don't have to. All I could say is that many of you here representing different condos. I recognize all of you and the condos that you're from, and thank you for being here at short notice the way you showed up today, and I really appreciate that. I'm sure the chief and the city manager and the staff do as well, because it's important that we have these discussions. But speaking, the city manager brought up the 25-story buildings. So on August 13th, the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency, is having their meeting, and they will be having an issue on that will definitely impact whether we're going to have 25 stories or not. So please be there and let your voice be heard. Please give me a call if you want to discuss it personally, then I can tell you more about it. I'm more than willing to come and speak to any of your groups and speak about it. I know that many of you here, Bill Cantole especially, with Palm Beach Isles, has been speaking out with reference to what his position is with 25 stories. So please get your people to show up, because council members know how to count. So if you show up with a lot of people, I think you might get the results that you want to see. Thank you.
And one of the items I did want to address is that originally when we went for a revenue bond for the purposes of constructing Fire Station 88, 86, and Fire Station 88 and 86. Fire Station 88 is the station on Congress. They are companion stations. They were constructed at the same time. The island station was supposed to be, in fact, the second station constructed. And then when we moved the location and we had opposition from the community with that bond, that revenue bond, we had 3 years to spend the money or we would lose that. And so we had to move forward. So actually what happened is Fire Station 87, the main station, leapfrogged Fire Station 86. So Fire Station 86 is the last station that the city will be constructing as it relates to fire stations. for at least 50, 60 years. But I can tell you, as the chief mentioned earlier, every station, Fire Station 88 has won virtually every state and national award for its construction. Fire Station 87 will do the same. This station is going to win national and international awards because of the complications associated with this particular site. So it's a facility that we didn't want to cut any corners. We heard the community that said we wanted a facility that had, old Florida beach style. So there's architectural elements that actually make it a little bit more appealing than some of our other stations. And so we want to make sure that it is of quality, but provides a place where our fire professionals can feel comfortable and feel safe. And I can tell you that when I came back here 6 years ago, we had put $250,000 in Fire Station 88, which was right next to Barracuda Bay, in remediation work. And when they had done that work, we had fire personnel professionals that said, I know you guys have done all the testing. I know you guys have fixed all the problems. Mentally, I cannot go back into that facility. So we had to take our fire personnel. We had an office building in the back of the Public Works campus where we had a modular trailer for sleeping quarters. We had a modular trailer for restroom quarters. Our firefighters now are finally seeing the fruits of the labor of a lot of people in this community, and now operating out of facilities that are in the 21st century. And we're not losing recruits and not retaining people because of facilities, because that is a real issue. And I can tell you that they can sleep well and know that they don't have to deal with some of the challenges that these facilities have. And the chief is absolutely right. Fire Station 87 is, 86 is at the end of its useful life. It is, very concerning for us. And at any moment we're actually feeling quite blessed that we're able to get this far, because we've been having this conversation about that station going, for the last 2 years, and us just being ready as what the alternative plan is. But I will assure you that a lot of time, energy, and effort has been done by Chief to make sure that we have, optimal service delivery here on the island, that we're able to address what the concerns are, and that the model changes based on data and information that's provided for in real time. So it's not a situation where if we see things happen that we're not going to address accordingly. And we did invest in preemptive lighting. So we're actually seeing, even with this, not just specific to Singer Island, but even on the western part of our community, we're responding in some neighborhoods in a better time than we had when we had our station on Military Trail as well. So we're trying to do everything we can, and rest assured that we're going to get this station built as quickly as possible. But we do encourage you to stay informed on the process as we, continue to move this project forward. And so, Chief, I didn't know if you had any other closing remarks or anything else you wanted to say.
Any other questions? We have a few more.
Yeah, Chief, I'm looking at the design of the firehouse, and this came up, the third floor up there. Is there any chance of changing that design and maybe beefing up the design at the entrance, where your entrance door is very, very plain? And I think it could look a little nicer if we can beef that up with the architect and maybe revisit that top floor. Maybe we could put a hip roof up there and do something a little bit different. I know that this is in Mr. Bailey's bailiwick, I guess.
So would you like to know now or later?
I don't know if you want to give a definitive answer right now. I think it's something that we should really be looking at.
You
And-
mentioned that at the meeting.
Mhm.
You've taken that to the architect. What, the same way the architect told you in the meeting, you can't lower this roof line for conflict reasons. It's that roof line at the top's got to stay where it is.
No,
Can't lower it.
yeah, Mr. Bailey, I heard what the architect said, and I've got quite a bit of an architectural background myself. And he was looking at the conflict in the roofs. And you put a hip roof there and it would be no conflict. There would be no difference. I think he's got to take a look at that at least a second time, because we are raising the height of the fire station. The ground level is going up 7 feet. So on this height is 7 feet more. You have 2 condominiums right in the back that you don't show in this rendering. Those people's views are going to be impacted.
Well, as you recall, when we did the 360, those pines that are behind that completely masked this building from
Okay, now-
the third,
okay.
fourth floor up. So they will have no net change.
Yeah, those drones were great, but I could tell you that I went to the Ocean's Edge in 5,000 this week, and I can tell you absolutely they're going to be impacted. I don't care what that drone was showing. I stood on the terraces on those decks myself in the last few days, And I think there's going to be an impact. I'm pretty sure there's going to be. I think I was there when the chief was nice enough to bring one of the ladder trucks down, showed me what the height of the station was going to be. It was not hidden by those trees. I could tell you that right now. So I think that we have to really think about this with the architect and see if we can just, move this around a little bit. It won't take a lot. I don't think it's going to change his design or I don't think it's going to change the time period or whatever. I see now you're basically planning 1 year, I guess, for the water tower and 2 years for the firehouse. 14 and 14. Okay. Yeah. So we still have time to play with this, I think, a little bit. We're not talking about major changes. We're not changing the foundation. We're not changing the footprint. Let's just look into that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, everyone, thank you for coming out.
Hold the phone. Well, I, for one, want to say that is one hell of an attractive fire station. I'm very happy to see that it's staying on Singer Island and it's in the same location. And it is an eyesore now that these condominiums are looking down at. This is a far better appearance for any condo in that area. And when you consider the importance of the fire station, if they would prefer a high rise there, which can't be possible, we sure do have enough high rises on the island. That is one very attractive building. I hope it services our firemen well. I hope it's safe for them. I hope it foots the bill as far as the, protection for the condos north of there. I think you've done a great job, and I know a lot of work went into this. I would, pull the trigger. Oh, I shouldn't say that with the police here. Wait a minute. I take that back.
Thank you. Up here?
I was at a recent meeting with the fire chief of West Palm Beach, who mentioned that they have no fireboat and that the Coast Guard station right over there doesn't have a firefighting boat either. Would it be beneficial for you in your capacity as a chief to get together with the other fire chiefs and see if you could put together a plan so that a fireboat, a responsible fireboat, could be available on a mutual assistance basis? Because we've got some expensive yachts here.
Without question. That keeps me up at night.
Well, I think that what happens whenever she brings up that topic about no fireboat in West Palm Beach, her blood pressure probably goes up.
Chief Matty is very passionate about that in West Palm. We're very fortunate to have partnered with this individual right here. Chief, would you like to talk about the boat that you have come in? Our boat? Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir. The PD and the fire department is partnering to purchase a $420,000 boat where we're going to have apparatus to drop in the water and be able to service the boats on the waterway. We also partnered with the Port of Palm Beach to get additional equipment so we can fight and service the waterway boats better. So we ordered that boat 7 months ago, take 10 months to build it. So I should take ownership of that boat in like October, November. I have to go to New Orleans to get the boat and drive it back. What, you want to go?
So yes, that's going to provide us an opportunity. Another microphone. Did I lose one? I think they want to hear you.
Chief, are you concerned about that fuel barge that is always parked right next to the low fishing bridge? I'm concerned if they had a fire, that would definitely impact your accessibility.
Concerned, yes. What I can do about it, not much. Once you get on the waterway, that becomes an issue for FWC or the U.S. Coast Guard. And if they've got all their permits and approvals, while I might not like it, my authorities don't stretch into the water. So we've done a lot of training with our crews on fighting fires from docks. We're going to be doing a ton of training with our police department on being able to fight fire from their vessel. Is it a concern? Yes, it's one of many that I have. Yes, ma'am.
So if I can just speak to that, the city manager has been working very hard on a mooring field plan. I know you all read in the newspapers that the plan was turned down because of the town of Palm Beach. But I could tell you out of the 3 mooring fields that we put in for, 2 were approved. It's the one near Palm Beach that was turned down. So we're going to be revisiting this, and we're going to be having a town hall meeting probably in September, October on the mooring field. It'll be a scaled down version of what everybody saw before, and we'll discuss it with the community, and we'll discuss the negatives and the positives. I could tell you that that gas boat was actually parked at the end of Island Way at a dock. It was there for months, and then the city manager worked very hard to get them to move that boat. They did, but now they put it right in front of the dock over there at Phil Foster Park, which everybody sees. You see it there every night. If we had a mooring field, they wouldn't be able to do that. We would have the ability to keep them out of there. So there are positives and negatives to a mooring field. So we have to look at the end of the day, what makes more sense for the community. And that's what we're going to have a discussion. We're going to have a town hall meeting. We had one once before. We had close to, I guess, about 150, 200 people showed up. We'll try and do the same thing again in September, October.
And to speak on that particular issue, there's numerous code compliance related actions that the city did take, especially when they were fueling in our municipality and they were running fuel lines off of the dock. And so our code enforcement team was able to take actions. We pushed them from those types of activities. I personally spoke with the operator and told him that, it's creating for some challenges. He did communicate I even said, hey, can we work with you to go to our marina? Can we find a spot at the marina that you can utilize that doesn't look to park your vessel here? He said, your marina is a competitor. I sell fuel cheaper than you do. And the location that I have here, people love that it's convenient and it's right here. But I said it's really a nuisance to a lot of the neighborhood. So he did indulge and have the conversation with me, but he knows exactly where he can be and he knows where he cannot be. But one of the things that does kind of bring some solace to the situation, when he has to go for fuel, he has to move in, and it's a pretty arduous and costly process that he has to go through to assist in buying fuel, because he won't buy fuel from us because we're, his competitor and we're a little bit more expensive. So he has to take it down to a community in South Florida. So, but we are watching that because we know that that's problematic and it's very concerning. It is really too close to a lot of things in the event that something did occur. So we are watching that.
Thank you.
Another factor there is the National Dive Park that's right there. If that boat leaks, it's going to cause a lot of havoc.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
that dive park. Now that's national. Is there another agency that could step in?
You do have, like the chief mentioned, you do have FWC, you have the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department, our vessels out there. But I think, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the state actually pass some laws that, to interact or engage with a vessel, you have to have probable cause, and it's a little bit more challenging than what it used to be.
Very challenging now. If y'all want to vote, you have to have a lot more information before you go search program. That law passed this year.
Yeah, believe so.
Okay. Can we get a few words maybe from our neighbor in Palm Beach Shores, Chief Steedman, if you can just give us a little update on how you're planning for our big change here.
Thank you, sir. Well, if I can make one recommendation, this is where Palm Beach Shores would really like to hang out. So if you can make some nice accommodations up on that 3rd floor for us, we'd certainly appreciate that very much. Many of you already know this, but Palm Beach Shores and Riviera Beach already have a very well-established working relationship. The city of Riviera Beach does provide our EMS transport service for us, as well as our fire backup through interlocal agreements. Going back to the marine firefighting operations, that's something that we're certainly not sitting back waiting and hoping for a boat one day. We've taken proactive measures. Our people have actually trained together. We have some portable fire pumps. We've worked with Riviera Beach PD. Doesn't hurt that one of the Marine folks is my next door neighbor and has helped facilitate this, but ways that we can actually deploy before we get that resource available to us. So in the meantime, it kind of goes back a little bit to where I used to work. We had a large commercial harbor, and some of the old fishermen would tell you, just because you can't go out in the ocean today doesn't mean you can't sharpen your tools and mend your nets. Be ready to go. And that's what we've been doing in the meantime. I just want to talk real briefly. There was a question in reference to the high rises. Certainly ours are a little bit on the lower side in Palm Beach Shores, but we have the same issues and problems of maybe people with mobility issues being able to evacuate. One of the things, and this is some of the unsung heroes, I would say, of our industry, is inspection and prevention. So when our folks go in, as these systems are upgraded, the alarm systems are upgraded, instead of an entire building being evacuated for burnt toast in the lobby, they have staged evacuation. So to give you a very, very quick example, if in the majority of our calls that we run are in the timeshares. So if somebody burns toast, sets off their smoke alarm in their unit, they certainly want to get that smoke out. And typically those alarms inside the unit are local alarms. They just alert the people in the unit that there's a problem so they can escape. As soon as those people open that door to the common hallway to ventilate and get that burn odor out, it starts hitting public detectors or common detectors. Most of these places, as soon as it hits that, they'll go into a general alarm. So now you have an entire building trying to evacuate. And I know our brothers and sisters can attest to this. We might go for a fire alarm activation and we start getting pulled aside for, hey, I've got a person who's in a scooter or a person in a wheelchair or a person with a mobility issue on the 8th floor in the stairwell. And we do try to defend them in place as best we can. Some of these newer systems are smart systems where they'll do a staged evacuation. So if there's an issue on the 7th floor, it'll alert the people on the 7th floor first. If it hits so many detection devices after that, it'll go to the floor above, then the floor below. So we don't have a mass exodus of 1,500 people out of the building. It's meant to actually create safety for the occupants. So our inspection and prevention folks do a great job in working with the buildings when they have to upgrade their systems to modernize them for that purpose. And then there's one more thing. I always have one more thing, and I forgot my third thing. Oh, I just remembered it. Again, we have a lot of timeshares. So when you have a place, let's say, I'll give a good example, the La Quinta brand. For any handicapped or disabled folks that they have in those buildings who are renting them, and obviously those are short-term rentals, people are only staying there at a very transient level, they might have a stack called like the 2 stack or the 3 stack. So what that means for us in fire rescue is if there are people with mobility issues, they might put them in 103, 203, 303, 403. So in our case, we know that all those people are in the 3 stack. We don't have that luxury in the privately owned or the HOA buildings. But for the ones that are more rental-based or chain-based, that is something that we do have the ability to do. So I just hope that answers a few questions. And if there's any questions you'd like for me to answer, I'd be certainly happy to do it.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to mention, I know that everyone thinks that we have ladder trucks and that's going to go up 30 stories and take somebody off a building. I just want you to know a 100-foot ladder truck is lucky if it could take someone off the 7th floor. Because when they have to put the outriggers out and they need the angle of the ladder, that's all you're going to do. So a ladder truck is not taking people off of high-rise buildings. So we can buy 100 ladder trucks. That's not going to solve the problem. You could buy a helicopter with a platform. I've seen those before. I know the Israelis just came out with, well, they came out with it a few years ago. They actually have a chute that's pressurized that you can come down a 20, 25-story building. You can go down the chute. It's total, you can't see outside, so you don't get scared. But that's something in the future.
That's definitely in the future.
Yeah, but they have it. They have it. They're using it in different countries right now. So there are things technologically that will help, but right now all the buildings do meet the fire codes and the new fire codes. We have communication systems on each floor for the firemen to use and the firewomen. But before we, I know that there might be some more questions, but Chief, can you introduce our guys that are here on Singer Island? Let the people meet them.
I would love to. It'd be my honor. We start off with the old man of the group. This is Captain Scott Steele. Captain Scott Steele has been with us now 28 years of service to the city of Riviera Beach. We have driver engineer David Morrison. We have firefighter paramedic Tony Carvalho and firefighter paramedic Rodrigo Chong, who is a legacy hire. His father served with us for over 25 plus years, and we're hoping to get 25 out of him at least. And in the back, our EMS chief, Timothy Alvin. Thank you for being here.
Let me just take one quick liberty. These are some fine people that we get to work with from Palm Beach Shores as well. Last week, one of my people, while on duty, suffered a medical emergency, And these were some of the folks that took care of him and took excellent care of him. So they certainly do a great job, not only for the community, but also for their brothers and sisters just south of the border there. So we appreciate you all very much. Thank you.
I just want to mention Chief Coleman. Thank you to you and your men for solving that issue that we had here on the island. We had an attempted, possible rape, an attempt to do a rape or something in that area, and it didn't take long for the chief and his detectives and his team to make an arrest. So that person is no longer on the streets. And Chief, we really appreciate everything you and your team do on the island here, and please keep it up, and you have our support. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for being here. If you have any additional questions, staff will hold the room for a little bit afterwards, and we'll definitely keep the lines of communication open. Thank you for being here this evening.
Can I have some business cards if anyone would like to keep one in their
Yeah,
Rolodex?
before you leave, you'll see a newsletter that District 4 has put out on the back table there. You're going to be getting it in the mail. It's on better paper, and it's going to look nicer in the mail. That'll be going out on Friday. But please pick up the newsletter. Make sure you sign in. And any questions you have, you know how to get them to me. Thank you.
Really? Yeah, absolutely.